to EQaboveIQ-Parenting with emotional intelligence and healing the inner child. My name is Trina Casey and I'm your host. So today I'm doing a little bit something different. I'm recording outside. I felt like taking a walk and getting in nature a little bit. So if you hear the crashing waves of the beach and any extra outdoor sound, I apologize now for the distraction, but I'll do my best, and so will you, not to care. In this episode, I want to talk about how chaos has created cash. One of the interesting things that I have recognized about our hegemony that we live in is that in order for it to operate, it really has to have chaos. And not saying that chaos is not a natural state in the world, because there's chaos and then there's calm. There's the yin and the yang. There's the balance of the harmony of the two somewhere in the middle. And in my life, I'm always trying to cultivate those two, yet somehow, inevitably, the chaos creeps its way into your life. Mine, I think I've mentioned. And that chaos is usually due to a desire for control. And they use fear and intimidation in order to get what they want all the time. Chaos for control, chaos for cash. The whole power structure of the world seems to be based on it. And I wonder if that's a natural phenomena. I think about it all the time. Are there animals besides humans that thrive on creating fear and disharmony? I think not. I think more creatures have momentary clashes, but they never end up leaving the site of their territorial battles dead. Humans are unique in their desire for barbaric war. And it seems that there are a few people in charge of this world that have figured out that's how you make money. That's how you keep power. And there's been a million books written about it as well. So I'm not new to this epiphany. I'm just really, really clear on it for the first time in my 5 decades of life. When you see a dog and a cat or scrap over a piece of food, it's quick. It doesn't last more than a few seconds usually. When you see a couple bears battling in the woods for, marking rights, it's quick. It doesn't last more than a few minutes. No. And so it's really important that we put that in perspective, because we're living in a world where these battles last decades. And the reason why is that a few people in the industrial complex figured out they can make billions of dollars off of this horrible, unnecessary thing called war. Right now in the motherland, there's chaos in different African nations, coups, all that stuff, with a lot of external influence from the West. Why? Africa is the cradle of everything, really. Resources, life. And I've spent quite a few years in Africa, and I don't understand how through the beginning of the transatlantic trade and a lot of stuff, how these leaders accept the crumbs from the West, accept the absolute manipulation, narcissistic manipulation from the West, just feeding off their simplicity. And I'm using the word simple generously and kindly, because there's a lot of words that I could use to describe how naive and how short-sighted the leaders in Africa are. Not all, but male leaders predominantly have a lot of issues because they want to emulate their oppressors. They find it wonderful, and that has trickled even into the United States. where I see the battle between black and white, but also black males and black females. And when it is the unification that will solve these problems. So, and that chaos is trickled down to us from the very beginning of our indoctrination. I am always going to say it and say it again. We're all just children walking around in adult suits, pretending we have it all figured out while we spread our trauma to everyone we meet, especially our children. As a single mother, I have had to make grand adjustments. And I'll be honest, I've been a single mom even during his conception. Just after his conception as well. The mental capacity it takes to raise another human as a woman is a challenge. I think it's doubly challenging when you're raising a son in a patriarchal system that oppresses you. So I've been battling on how to shepherd my child, because I don't think we can engineer children. We shepherd them, create environments to make them feel safe. But how do we do that as parents when the environment is inherently dangerous? I don't care where you are in the world. Wherever patriarchy exists, you're going to have chaos. And you're going to have unnecessary posturing. And you're going to have wars and battles. I've come to really understanding how unevolved the male mind is. And I'm not trying to come for men. I'm just telling the truth. And I think that even men who could get really deep with themselves and get really honest with themselves understand what I'm saying. No mother starts to resent or hate their child, but the world is something that I have to protect him from, even when he doesn't know he needs protection from it. Not the nature. Sure, there's bears and lions and stuff like that, but the people who create the goods full of toxins and poisons. So I made my own baby food from scratch, organic all the way, blended down. I used my own body, the breast milk, and I breastfed for 2 years so that he doesn't have any allergies. And he doesn't. It's amazing to see how healthy he is 99% of the time. Of course, there's those pesky viruses and things like that pop up from time to time, but my son's barely ever sick. Now, they're the epigenetics of his birth, the passed down trauma from slavery, and things like that. What I'm saying is that there is always interruptions. There's a lack of consciousness. There's a lack of a lot of things. But there's abundance too. We're often focused on the scarcity because guess what? Chaos makes money off of scarcity. Scarcity is created on purpose. So, anyways, back to what I was saying. I had to protect him, from our food source. And now I battle with, technology, such as YouTube, social media, video gaming systems. All these type of things are a constant that I watch with him sometimes just to see what's entering him to attain an effect. And it's pretty amazing how effective this technology is in attaining a particular fate for our children, for ourselves, our thoughts, how we see things. The whole entertainment industry is about creating a narrative about who we are, not necessarily based on truth. Our history constantly written in it a sense of despair, a sense of violence. And why is it that the male mind has a propensity and a need for it? Sure, it's testosterone, but I have testosterone too. And males have estrogen too. So why is it so out of balance? I think about that quite a bit. I've read a couple case studies. I've mentioned Brunner syndrome a few times, and the interesting fact that a large portion of our males in the world have this Brunner syndrome. Don't know about it, look it up, but it's a propensity towards violence. It's a mutation of a protein, of a gene, MAOA, and it's seen in the minds and the brains of this deficiency, should I call it, or mutation is seen in psychopaths, sociopaths who live in this world narcissistically and create chaos. So I'm very curious about what we can do as a culture and a society to come to grips with these truths. Is there anything that we can do in the world of science that is so, misunderstood in itself? Science is even compartmentalized and divided. I think one of the biggest things that I discovered is that the male mind, the male body, the male spirit is divided from itself. It cannot or will not connect back to the feminine because the culture and the narrative in this culture has taught us that boys are weak if they cry. Boys are weak if they express emotions. When in fact, these emotions are the basis for our humanity. So how is it we can exist in this world with this type of mentality, with this type of chaos? I don't think we can. And I don't think we ever will until we come to the reality. I remember looking at my son when he was born baby and thinking, oh my God, how do I protect you? Protect you from other men, protect you from the world. How do I prepare you to be whole, not to be a fragmented human being, forced to only live in part of yourself? How do I protect you from your own tendencies, your own impulses that are hard to understand? How? No, really, I'm asking the question. And I don't think anybody's really come up with the answer yet. And I don't think it will until there's a unification between the masculine and the feminine in all of us. Women aren't these dainty, over-emotional things, as they like to say or try to reinforce. Matter of fact, I think the majority of the problem is that men are afraid of women, afraid of our ability to produce and be connected to life in such a level that they cannot. We connect with the earth, Mother Gaia. We connect with ourselves most of the time when we're not being forced to be something we're not. I wonder what it would feel like for boys to be allowed to be their full selves and not thrown into a category of gay, trans, or anything else. I wonder if trans would even exist because that's just a label. I also wonder sometimes if trans does exist because it is a way for the male mind and body to disconnect from the abuse of the culture, to get to be soft, to get to be nurturing. So as a mother of a son, I've always had these thoughts from the moment he was born, and tears rolled down my face, and I saw just how beautiful he was, but how fragmented the world would try to force him to be. I've been battling that his whole 12 years of existence, not with any help, with a lot of resistance, unfortunately, from the other parental unit who doesn't quite understand the abuses and the aggression towards me filters into his son. That's the thing. The balance, of the world lies in not being aggressive to the feminine body, to not being hateful of the feminine. Yet every single war that happens includes rape, includes beatings of the divine feminine, of spirit. Imagine if we lived in a world where it wasn't like that, where there was actually peace and harmony. How many resentments and how many negative outcomes would fall to the wayside. I see my son trying to be macho with his friends on the gaming platforms and struggling in person to connect. And he so desperately wants to connect because that's human. That's natural. But the only way boys seem to be allowed to connect is through violence, through competition, through bullying even. These afraid little souls, afraid to be found out about how they really feel inside, to embrace their softness. Because the world is built in a way that their softness is seen as bad, or seen as weak, or seen as inadequate. It makes me cry sometimes. It makes me cry because, he's not safe. And it makes me cry because I'm not safe as a woman in this world to just go and flow and be as I want to be. There's always somebody, something trying to take something from me. And usually my freedom. There's always something trying, or someone affiliated with the masculine trying to manipulate me, trying to gaslight me, trying to instill fear in me, when all I want is to be joyous and dance in the sun and play in the water. Just be. So I'll end this episode with saying, no, I don't hate the masculine, as some of you may be thinking. I love the masculine. I love the strength that can come out of lifting a rock, a boulder. I want to feel protected by the masculine. Something that it's supposed to do for the feminine. Our women are strengthening our bodies. Not that they never were strong. No. We've always been strong. We've always fought in wars. Well, we've always been cunning in our tactical abilities. most kingdoms in antiquity were the most successful and thriving when a queen was in charge. Just stating fact. Go ahead and look it up. In the beginning, all lines of royalty were done through the matriarchal side. Guaranteed that's your child if it comes from your womb, right? These are a lot of thoughts I've been having lately as I watch the world become chaotic and fall into chaos once again. As I watch, once again, the fall of our civilization. And that's okay, because it's within this that change can actually happen. But I want everyone to know that we do not have to let it all burn. We can create another way of being parallel to what this fall has created. We can create something through our own grand awakening individually and then collectively. But we have to release the ideologies of the old, of oppression, of religion, of all of these structures that's basically brought us to where we are now. It hasn't all been bad, but it's definitely got a lot of room to grow. So with this, I leave you with this thought. Be courageous, be curious, be kind to yourself and to others, and have a blessed day.